Chairman, we have distributed a memo. This is the supplemental item that's been added to the agenda. And we just want to, number one, bring you up to speed with where we are on the Ellaville Damascus exchange, and seek some authority that will give the executive director some room to maneuver as we continue, hopefully toward a closing on this piece of property. This has been a very fluid situation in the last month. There have been communications back and forth at all levels. We've been working with the Tallahassee agencies. The environmental groups have been weighing in, and as you heard, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has chosen to weigh in very recently as well. We had initially planned to close on this property on November 30th. There is actually a hanging part of the process involving the comprehensive plan amendment that extended to December 7th, and we felt that it was in the best interest of everybody to wait until that comment period closed before we scheduled the closing. So closing was pushed back, and it was scheduled to happen yesterday. As we were working in that direction, as I said, there was additional communication coming out of Tallahassee, and ultimately we've been asked to push back the closing to this coming Friday. Now, this would be the last day that we can close under the current contract, and we are continuing to move diligently in that direction. We have gotten the survey completed. We've done our other due diligence on both parcels. We have been out there surveying the gopher tortoise population and putting together our relocation plan. So we continue to move forward, but we don't know exactly where events may take us. So our recommendation this morning is that you authorize the executive director to amend the exchange agreement to extend the closing date if needed, and if necessary, because there have been parties who have been basically trying to insert themselves in the process of the exchange, to accept a superior offer from a potential third party at a price determined by the governing board. As you may recall, in statute, it requires that for the sale of a surplus parcel that the board try to obtain the highest obtainable price, to get the highest obtainable price. And so, you know, there is a possibility of someone coming in and trying to make a better offer for the Ellaville piece that is on the table. Because of that, we have added as the second sheet in this memo some information on the valuation of the Ellaville tract. Essentially what we've done here is we've shown what, in essence, we are paying for the Damascus peanut property, which had an average appraised value of $2,099,500. But then that would be reduced by the amount of cash boot that we're putting into the deal, which is $200,000. So that would take it to roughly $1.9 million. And then, of course, the driving part behind this whole exchange are the resource values that are embodied in the Damascus peanut property. You know, we've talked about it before. This is a piece of property that I think in most everybody's mind more or less belongs in the district's inventory. It's got the river frontage, the floodplain percentage, the spring protection that we're all looking for through the acquisition program. So I think all of that needs to be figured in when setting an acceptable price for the Ellaville property. With that, Mr. Chairman, you have our recommendation, and be glad to answer any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
Charlie, I'd be inclined to move the recommendation, but I have a question. So, it seems to me that the way it's worded is not quite clear enough, because we have a contract to do this deal. And it's not just a straight, we surplus this normally 600 acres of Ellaville property and we're selling. It's a deal where there's a more attractive piece of land that's owned by Damascus Peanut we're trading for, and we're throwing in a little extra money because of the value of the property. So it's a complicated transaction, it's not a simple sale.
Yes, sir.
And so it's not clear to me that part two is just up to us, that we can accept a potential third-party price. I think the buyer or the other half of the deal has to participate in the decision-making. And if somebody else comes along that's willing, for instance, the state, is willing to purchase the Ellaville property, I think Damascus Peanut has to be party to that in order to conclude the deal. And so it's not clear to me that the way this is worded makes sense.
Mr. Chairman, we can go back to chapter and verse, and board counsel may have it on the tip of his tongue. I've got a copy of the agreement if we need to go there. In the amendment of the agreement, we have to include a provision in there that allowed us to meet this statutory requirement for obtaining or getting the highest obtainable price. And so, you know, we do have the ability, it's my understanding, if someone were to come in with a clearly superior offer, to basically set the exchange aside and go with that superior offer.
Well, I'll move the recommendation, and then I'll have some more questions.
And Mr. Chairman, if I can,
Let's get, there's a motion on the floor, let's get a second. Get a second. Now let's discuss it. Go ahead.
I think the recommendation, correct me if I'm wrong, Charlie, is we need the board to tell us the value that you think would be a superior price for someone to offer. What Charlie's got here is approximately 1.9 million. That's the economics. That's what the value that we would be receiving, the fair market value we would be receiving for the Ellaville property. You all may value it at that price. You may value it considerably higher. That's a board decision. So part of, you know, the instructions we need from you all is to give us that number.
Let me make a couple of comments. Number one, it goes a little bit to what you were asking, I think, Carl. Number one is Damascus owns that piece of property. They have to agree to that sale.
The river property.
I mean, they can't, I mean, we can't, so that throws something in there. So, you know, somebody could buy this Damascus that does not guarantee the sale of the other piece. I have had personal conversations, first of all, with the secretary about this piece of property, and just, you know, for the board's information, my stand on this, and I hope I'm relaying everybody's concerns and their thoughts. But I said, listen, we look at this. I said just strictly from the direction I think that Audubon looked to it, Mr. Draper, and I said, you know, I think this swap is better for them. I mean, I think that when you look at the wildlife community, the plant community, all of the things that goes along with the river property, I believe it really fits, this is in my opinion, I think it fits their core mission more than the other piece does. But when you look at our core mission, and those two, it's a slam dunk, in my opinion. I told the secretary that, and I had, you know, a long conversation with Mr. Draper from Audubon, and told him the same thing. And basically, when we got through with our conversation, he says, well, I guess the only way out of this deal is for us, you know, to figure out some way to purchase it. I says, well, you know, I'm not opposed to you purchasing the property, but what I am opposed to is jerking around Damascus, that we have a contract. If something can happen in a timely fashion and, you know, it all works out and all the stars align, you know, basically what they want is both. You know, and I said, well, we don't have control of that. floodplain property. This man owns it, it's a good swap, this is the way it worked. So he says, I guess my marching orders is to go figure out a way to do that. I said, you know, I'm not opposed to you, you know, relaying something to us about it would work. To be honest with you, I would not have been even in favor of putting this off if the letter hadn't came from the feds. And the reason why I think that this is a good idea now, just to hold up today, is to let Damascus take a look at it. I don't want them to get into something they wish they hadn't bailed off into. So I think they got a decision here to make. But that's kind of the way, the posture that I've taken with all parties, and Ann has been great at providing that information on to everybody and taking a little bit of the heat off of me, thank you. She, you know, to deal mostly with them, but I've had to have a couple of conversations, but that's the way I have presented it, and I would be surprised if we would do anything differently.
I have a question about understanding the motion that I made. What I understand, what the legal counsel said was, because of the clause we put in there, if somebody came along and offered more for the Ellaville property, then we could take that. Correct. That's clear, I understand that. That's the property we own, we have surplused it, we could sell it. What I don't understand is how then we deal with Damascus, because we want to buy the river floodplain property, and I don't understand that interaction. If we sell this to somebody else, then we're back to zero on the property that we're trying to acquire. So explain to me how that works, please.
I think that's correct.
The present contract you have says that if you get a better offer on the property we own, the Ellaville property, you can take the cash and you can sell that, you can call off this deal, basically, take the cash and sell that piece of property to this new buyer. Now, that would free you from any legal obligation with Damascus and with that other piece. Then, at that point in time, you know, we can try to negotiate a deal with Damascus, take that money and purchase this property or do something else. There's no legal framework after that because this deal is off. So it's just, we try to work it out as best we can after.
Okay, so I have a comment or two.
Let me make sure that we understand this too, that if we, no matter what comes in from a third party, if we feel like the value to this district is better under the contract we have now, we can close on that piece of property. So we have to say that it meets our core mission, and here's why it's more valuable to us than what somebody else has asked us for. Because this is a different transaction. This is just not about money. You know, it's about what our mission is and how each one of these pieces of property adheres to our core mission.
I think we've made that decision. I think we have said as a.
Well, we hadn't seen another offer. You know, I'm saying if another offer comes in and it's quite a bit higher, we'll say this. Then we got a decision to make whether to take that offer or to stick with the one we have. And if we stick with the one we have, the reason why we'd stick with it, even if we had a higher offer, is because it more aligns with our core mission.
Well, let me tell you what is logical to me. Damascus is in this with us, and we have a contract. And ignoring the outside influences, we could close and do this deal. And there'd be nothing to stop us. And matter of fact, if we don't do it by Friday, we're in default, which we're not likely to do. I think we ought to let Damascus make a decision. They know about what the federal and fish and wildlife people have said, because we've shared that with them. And so they know the risk of acquiring the property in terms of its usage. So I think we ought to ask Damascus, do they want to close or not? They want to complete the deal. Are they willing to accept a price for the Ellaville property that they would acquire? And if so, what's the value of it? And if they put a number on it, then that would be the number that we would say, if somebody else offers that number, we'll accept it, and the money would go to them, and the property would be sold. And so either way, we'll either close the way it is, or we'll take a number that Damascus defines as what they think the value of that property is, if a third party shows up. That would be what's logical to me.
I think that's exactly the process that we're entering into right now.
statute on point that regards higher offers, correct?
There's a statute that says we must advertise. There's a contractual term that says as part of that advertising process, should we receive a higher value offer, an offer this board feels a higher value, we can back out of the contract and sell it.
We may or we shall?
We may.
We may.
But
And is there any statute that commands us, if we can quantify something in dollar values, we take the maximum offer?
The highest attainable price is, I believe, what the
That
statute says.
statutory language is highest attainable. The real question then is, and this is, I think, what Charlie was asking for, if this was a straight sale of a piece of property, and we had an offer for $2,000 an acre, and then somebody comes in, even late in the game, and offers just $2,001 per acre, that's obvious, highest attainable, because it's a very simple, it's a math game. The question here is, what's the dollar value of us obtaining this sensitive piece of property? And therefore, if we could assess a dollar value for that benefit, whether it's it's been appraised at or something greater to us because our core mission is water, then what would someone then have to match or exceed in order to exceed our threshold? Correct? That's basically what you're looking
Yes,
for. Typically, I don't think in any other land transaction scenario, we would say, hey, if you exceed this by $1, we'll sell you something. That's really not a good way to do business. I don't know, this is more unique certainly, but just laying it out there and say, hey, you come up with this and we'll sell you a piece of property or whatever the case may be. So I wanted to understand that part, whether it was a shall and a statutory, contractual, or a mix of both. The second thing is that I agree with the other board members in that we have an agreement with a company that has been working diligently with this board for, I think, over a year to try and piece together the right scenario for the district and for their private interest. And to see that, per this email, a member of the public, as it was stated in the email, comes in on December 7th, per this email. And on December 8th, the morning of December 8th, an email goes out that appears to be saber rattling about a list: gopher tortoises, gopher frog, Florida pine snake, eastern diamondback, and eastern indigo snake. Now, has this district done surveys on all 5 of those species and provided them to the Fish and Wildlife Service in Washington?
We have not.
Okay. Are you aware of any agency that's done those studies on this particular piece of property?
I am not aware of any.
Are you aware of any scientific data whatsoever in which this email and the things that are stated in it would be premised upon?
Because they go together.
Studies,
There- yeah,
not just guesses.
Yes, I'm not aware of any. I'm certainly, there are certainly parts of that are based on the experience thus far, or maybe based on some of the prior studies, but I'm not aware of
Prior
anything.
studies in the region or specific to this piece of property?
Yeah, as far as I know, other than the work that the Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission did on gopher tortoises on that particular piece of property, I'm not aware of anything that any outside body has done on that piece of property.
Is there a representative that has attended this meeting today to speak on that from Fish and Wildlife? Here in the crowd.
We do have Roland Garcia, who's the regional director for FWC.
Okay, but I'm talking about the
Oh, U.S. Fish and Wildlife?
U.S. Nobody
To my knowledge.
came to the meeting. I too agree that, on principle, if nothing else, we've been working for over a year. This is, as the chairman said, a slam dunk as far as our core mission goes. I would defer to Damascus, and if they feel concerned enough about what appears to be, someone told me something and I put it in the form of a threat email, if they are concerned about that, if they wanna step back from this exchange, I wouldn't blame them one bit. But if they're not concerned, that we honor our word and the project that we worked on for over a year with them. If we get a higher offer, I don't know that I'm capable of, much less prepared to say what I feel a dollar amount would have to be a meet or exceed in order to nix the deal that we've worked so diligently with them on a principled matter and on a core mission what we were going to achieve. In theory, if we take a sale price on this piece of property and then we approach Damascus about buying theirs, if I were Damascus, I'd be pretty frustrated at this point. I don't see us closing that. Hey, we just messed you up on one, but hey, can we still do what we were trying to do? If I'm them, I would say no, and I would never deal with the district again. But I would certainly defer to them